Hi there, in today's video I'm going to show you how I made this Thanksgiving blessing mix, and we use the Spice Cake Designer Series paper along with the matching fabric, and I'm going to begin by showing you how I made the tag. So I'm going to set this aside and we'll get started. So we're going to begin with a scrap of Very Vanilla cardstock. I'm going to use my More Mustard ink pad and the It's a Wrap Holidays. I'm using the Give Thanks image. I'm going to ink that up really good and stamp that image onto the scrap. Basically, I want the top edge of this image to be on my sheet because it's going to get cut off underneath the Give Thanks. So then I'm going to clean my stamp and I'm going to use soft suede to stamp it again. So then I will stamp it again right next to here, and it doesn't really matter. I just want the Give Thanks wording. I'm going to cut that out here in a second. So on the More Mustard, I am going to just cut along these edges with my paper snips. Cut that out. And then I'm going to cut right below the Give Thanks and just trim this top edge a little bit. Okay, so there's that. And then the Give Thanks that's in soft suede, I'm just going to cut out the wording. And then I'm just going to take my paper snips and snip little angles up here at the top to make it look like a tag. Then I'm going to take a scrap of Pool Party and use my dotted scallop border punch to give myself a little scallop border. And then I'm just going to put a little snail adhesive on the back side of this More Mustard tag. And then I'll just trim the edges with my paper snips. Okay, so now I'll take a piece of soft suede cardstock and layer this little tag right over the top. And I'm just leaving like maybe a 1/8 inch edge border of that soft suede around the tag, and then we'll just trim up these little angles to match. And you can trim this so that's just a border around that. Okay, and then we're going to take this little Give Thanks, and I'll just put a dimensional on the back side to pop this up and give it a little dimension, and that's going to go right over the More Mustard Give Thanks wording. So your tag is pretty much finished. You just need to put a little 1/16 inch circle at the top so that you can thread the linen thread through at the end. Now we're ready to put the bag together. To make this bag, I've used the Fancy Favor Biggs die, which looks like this. I have already die cut my Spice Cake Designer Series paper from that die, and there are score lines that I'm going to fold along. Okay, and there's a couple, just on these ends, there's a score line in here that is going to be the side of your bag, and you just want to crease those as best that you can. Let's see. So that they'll fold easier later. Okay, so you can see this is the wrong side or the inside of the bag, and I have put sticky strip just to this fold line for the flap on the bottom on this far end, And then I have a little sticky strip here for this bottom flap, and then on the right side, this will be the outside of the bag, I've put sticky strip on both of the square flaps on the bottom of the bag. So I'm going to begin to assemble this by removing the backing from just the side edge, and then I'm going to bring this side over, and I want to match up this outside edge with this folded score line for this side flap. Now sticky strip sticks well, so make sure that you get your edges lined up how you want them, and then you can go ahead and stick that into place. So that's your first step. Now you can go ahead and remove the backing from all of the bottom flaps. Okay, so the backing is removed, and then I'm going to fold in the two squares and fold in the flap that does not have the sticky strip first, and then this one had the sticky strip on it, so I'm going to fold that in last. So that creates the bottom of your box or your bag. Then you'll turn it over and just use a bone folder to make sure that those flaps are all attached really well on the inside. Okay, so now we're going to just fold these along all these creases, fold this bag together. And I want to make sure that I don't catch these side edges, and I'm going to punch with my Crop-A-Dile on the 1/8 inch hole. I'm going to punch 2 holes in the center. So there's one, and here's the other, and I'm going about 1/4 inch from the top edge of the bag. And then I have a little blessing mix that I put in a small cellophane bag, and I will insert that. Then I'm going to take my fabric, this is the Spice Cake fabric, and just pull these threads on the edges to fray it a little. Kind of a cool effect. And I really think that the more threads you pull, the more fraying you do, the cooler it looks. Okay, so once you've got all those edges frayed how you like them, then you can go ahead and just wrap this around the bottom of the bag. I'm just going to bring the two ends up to meet each other here at the top, and then just use like a either a small rubber band or a little, I'll use a twisty tie just to hold this into place. And then I've got my blessing mix printed out on Berry Vanilla cardstock, and I just did this on my printer, and then I'm just going to layer it onto soft suede cardstock with some snail adhesive. And then I'm going to use a couple of dimensionals on the back side. I'll put one here and one over here so that I can sort of scrunch this fabric in between the two so that it's sticking to the bag and not the fabric. So I'm going to put this on the back side. I'm going to kind of scrunch this in between and center this on the back. So that's in place. Okay, so now I've got a piece of linen thread threaded through a wide-eyed needle. That's going to make this go through these holes a little bit easier. I'm going to put them through the first set of holes, front and back. Bring that around the fabric on the back side and just kind of slide that over and bring that needle back through the other 2 holes that I punched. So I'm just wrapping this basically around this fabric. Then when you have it around to the front side, make sure that you've got the linen thread ends about the same length. Get that evened up. And I'm going to try to leave this needle in so I don't have to rethread it again. And I'm just going to tie a knot. Now I can remove this twisty tie, or if you have it rubber banded, either way. Okay, so that is good. And then I'm going to take my button and I'm threading through one of the holes. Then I'm going to thread my tag on. And then I'm just going to take, now I can get rid of this needle. Then I'm just going to take the other side of the linen thread, the other end of the linen thread, and thread it through another one of the holes, like diagonal from the first one. And those holes are big enough that you can get those through without having to use the needle. Then I'm just going to tie a bow. So I've got my bow. Then I can set this up and just kind of position the tag where I want it and adjust the bow and the button how I want it. And then you can adjust the tops here too, this top of the fabric. Then you can trim the ends a little. And that's your little blessing mix. And on the back side I've got my blessing mix poem. I think this would be a really cute idea to put by each place setting at the Thanksgiving dinner table. If you have any questions, email me. Thanks for watching.